In between the lines here, Joe, Tech failed to defeat 16-9. It looks like that UGA defense was just too much. Too much. How are you feeling as a Tech Hall of Famer and alum? Uh, and what does it look like for the rest of this season for Georgia
Well,
Tech?
frustrating. It's very frustrating, Vaughn, because tonight marked eight straight victories for the UGA Bulldogs, and it shouldn't be that way. Yes, since the pandemic in 2020, the margin of victories have been going down. The spread from Vegas had been going down. It was 15 and a half. I still don't like that. I thought that was a little bit too much for a rivalry game, clean old-fashioned hate, and that turned out to be the case, only losing by 7. But it's no time for moral victories. I'm not proud of the fact that we hung close with the number 4 team in the nation. I'm not proud of the fact that, or ecstatic at the fact that we only held the Georgia to 1 touchdown offensively. No, we should be at a point in our program that we expect to win. Are they a better team? Probably so. Did we go out and take that victory? No, we did not. But that's not to say we're not very, very close to the Georgia Bulldogs. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating to come up short each and every time against the Bulldogs in the last 8 seasons. And it's also extremely frustrating to sit here uh, three, 3.5 weeks removed from being 8-0, and now you're sitting here at 9-3. Very, very frustrating when no opportunity to go for an ACC championship, no opportunities to get or opportunity to get into the college football playoff that we once thought was a goal that was in reach. So I wouldn't say disappointing season. The season was a success, or is it success, depending on how you go or where you go for the bowl. If you win that bowl game, but right now it was a little disappointing not being able to come up with a victory against the Bulldogs.
It was a lot riding on this game for both squads. Obviously, if UGA lost, they might have missed a chance at even being in the college football playoff. And like you said, with Tech losing,
Period. Yeah.
yeah, and with Tech losing this game, of course, any chance that they might have had at even the ACC tournament, being that they needed some help, is pretty much over. So as you sum this up, what's this? Do you feel like this is a good step in the right direction for the Georgia Tech program, or is it like we feel like we let a season necessarily slip away with the expectations being so high, starting off so strong at 8-0?
Hey, that's a great question, Vaughn. And here's why it's a great question, because you want to capitalize on Georgia Tech being old, Georgia Tech having a senior laden team as far as offensive line, quarterback, and some skill position guys, and a third, sometimes in some cases, a 4-year system or 4-year coaching staff that you are acclimated with. And normally the Yellow Jackets take advantage of that. So you thinking you missed the opportunity that Haynes King played his last game in the regular season for the Yellow Jackets. Uh, but what does the cupboard look like? How have the Yellow Jackets been recruiting? How have the Yellow Jackets been developing? I know I like the quarterback Aaron Philo that came in and spelled Haynes King very admirably last year. So I got confidence in him. So you're building on the process, you're building on the team, you're building on a culture the way Brent Key wants it to be. But I definitely think you let an opportunity slip through your hands. Looking back 3.5 weeks ago, where you stood at 8-0, and not only that, a week ago against Pitt, where you controlled your own destiny at home, sellout crowd, ESPN. I have to say, it's a little bit disappointed. It's not a disappointing season, but the turn of events the last 3 games or 4 games overall, put a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth.
I would say, just from my perspective, Tech defense actually played
Oh,
well. We
absolutely.
thought we thought that the defense could possibly give up another 260 yards on the ground, but they played a bend but don't break game. However, seemed like the offense couldn't get anything going in regards to putting some points on the board.
Man, listen to this, man. You under 100 yards rushing Tech, And that's a team that averaged 245 yards a game rushing the ball, running the football, including Hayes King. And if you can't get your running game going, then it halts or it puts a wrench into your passing game, your play action game, and and when you're going to hold Georgia to only 7 points, when you're going to hold Georgia to under 100 yards passing, so shout out to the defense. So where I thought that the strong suit was your offense, the defense held you in the game, but you can't. Going to try to upset the number 4 team in the nation and only kick field goals. You can't beat a team only kicking field goals. The Yellow Jacket failed to get in the end zone at all, so that's a problem. But again, Vaughn, I must say, just very very candidly, if you don't win your bowl game and end up this season 9-4, as you look at it and review the season, who did you beat? So when the people go and talk about the SEC and should the ACC, no matter what, be left out of the college football playoffs because the conference is so bad, and then you look at why they had Georgia Tech rated in the first college football playoffs ratings by the committee. Why were they so low, being a one-loss team and an undefeated team? Is because of the ACC. And now when you look at it, if Tech happens to end this season at 9-4, Vaughn, I don't know if I would still consider the season from where you've been a total success. It would be a little bit of hesitation to say we had a really, really good season.
That's a great point, Joe. And I feel like, oh, it's a lot to unravel. Speaking about the ACC, and it seems like nobody wants to take that conference by stronghold, or nobody wants to stand up and say, "Hey, I'm the dominant team in that conference." Would you say, or would you consider Virginia as one of the dominant teams in the conference, or SMU, or would you just say, as a total, as a whole, the conference is just down?
Well, as a whole, the conference is just down. You remember now, Carson Beck is the only thing letting me down and with the Miami Hurricanes, because this is a team that went or made it up to number 2 in the nation, to where some people were considering were they the best team in the nation. But we all considered that Ohio State defending champs were still that. But if Carson Beck can not turn over the ball, if Carson Beck can play sound football and be the former overall projected number 1 pick or the top 5 projected NFL pick, if he can go back to that, there's talent all over that Miami Hurricane roster. But outside of them, and they are not elite, they are not a good football team in all phases, a dominant football team, so to speak. So the ACC is not that sexy of a pick, so to speak. There's no team that you can pick in the ACC that could go out and win tons of football game in the Big Ten. And I think this season, don't quote me and don't hold me to overall, Vaughn, as far as going forward, but I even say this season that the Pac-12, or the Big 12, excuse me, has taken over as far as being a more or a better overall conference as far as more teams at the top than the ACC. And who would have thought the Big 12, the finesse, throwing the ball all over the football field, we would be saying that about the Big 12. But Utah, BYU, Texas Tech, all those guys are pretty formidable now. So the ACC has a lot of work to do as far as getting their notoriety and their kind of a national prominence back where it needs to be or should be.
I would ask this: do you see that the end of this year is going to be some more adjustments being made to the college football playoff, and considering the seeding, like you said, with the ACC being down, do you think they don't guarantee a college football playoff spot just for winning the ACC if we have another situation or a season such as this one?
Oh, absolutely. And it's going to come from one conference, Vaughn. It's going to come from one conference that's going to be the SEC. I don't think the Big Ten has enough teams to actually gripe about it, because nobody's going to be, so to speak, left out, because it's going to be Indiana, Oregon, and Ohio State. Who's to gripe to say I should get in? Now, if Michigan pulls up an upset against Ohio State, they're going to be saying begging to get in. And that's where those conferences are going to come up and say, hey, just because the ACC somebody won the ACC championship, they got to be in the college football playoffs, but they're not one of the best teams in the nation. We got a team, the Big Ten can argue, or we have a team, the SEC can argue, that didn't make it into the conference champions. That's better than the ACC conference champions. So that's going to be the gripe. I wouldn't foresee that the ACC voted yes about doing away with that, or the Big 12, because that benefits them because they get in their conference. They ensure them that they'll get their conference winner in the college football playoffs.
Well, we don't want to do a deep dive too much on the other game that's getting ready to play, or that's gonna start it with Texas versus Texas A&M. But does Arch Manning, in your opinion, pull off the upset versus the undefeated Texas A&M Aggies?
Oh boy, that's a tough one, man. I've been going back and forth on Texas. They are at home. Arch Manning with 31 total touchdowns. He's been balling as of late. Um, it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a dogfight. But Texas A&M have a lot on the line. I like their quarterback Reed, very athletic. They came back from a historic 27-point deficit against the USC Gamecocks. I have to say, with all riding on the line, Texas A&M is going to beat Texas, and they're going to clinch their ticket to be here in Atlanta to play the Alabama Crimson Tide, because I think the Crimson Tide, they're going to handle business against the Auburn Tigers. So it's going to be Texas A&M and Alabama for the SEC championship game. However, if you're a Georgia Bulldog, you're rooting for the Auburn Tigers tomorrow, and you are rooting for the Texas Longhorns, because if any of those teams happen to beat their opponent, then the Georgia Bulldogs get into the SEC championship game.
And with Ole Miss beating, I think it was Mississippi State
Yes.
this weekend, do you see it where there is an opportunity where Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, as well as Texas A&M all get into the college football playoff, or is it where one of those teams, or possibly even two of those teams, will be left out?
No, well, here's the deal. Here's the deal. This is the lock. Um, Ole Miss is a lock to be in the college football playoffs. Texas A&M is a lock to be in the college football playoffs. You may ask, how is Texas A&M a lock? Well, if Texas beat them tonight, Texas A&M will not go to the SEC championship game, but they will only have one loss, and that would not drop them out of the top 12. All right. Georgia, that would mean Georgia's in. They control their own destiny. Alabama, if they were to lose the SEC championship game, that would be three losses, but three losses and playing in the SEC championship game, I don't think that drops Alabama out of the top 12. So yeah, I can see a situation there where it's Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Alabama in the SEC championship. I mean the college football playoffs, without a doubt, and it
Is
would be deservingly so.
is there a chance, just transitioning over to the Big Ten? You made instance of it. If Michigan can complete five in a row, no chance, get no chance. But if Michigan can complete five in a row, is it a way that they could possibly have a gripe to sneak into the college football playoff? Or I don't see a way that that can potentially happen, because then that would mean Ohio State can't be in. Um,
Can't
it,
be in where?
in the college football playoff. I don't see.
Oh, no, Ohio State is a lock.
I
Ohio
would think the same. However, if
and Indiana.
and Indiana, and then so that means Ole Miss, which would mean potentially Michigan with a win, still would have no chance at being a lock or being
No,
in there.
still
They have no argument.
no, unless Michigan can make it to the uh, conference championship game. No, they don't have a shot. But they have a gripe, Vaughn. They have a gripe because a two-loss Notre Dame team is going to be a two-loss Miami team that might get in, a two-loss some other team that Michigan could say their resume is a little better than. And who's their loss is going to be to? A loss to I think it's Oregon and USC maybe that they've lost to. So and a win against Ohio State. So It's all about the conference, how the committee deems the conference. So yeah, it's going to be gripes, and that's why a lot of people will say they want to go to 16 teams. That 12 is just not enough. But I don't want it watered down. I don't want the
Right.
13th and the 14th best team getting in just for the sake of more teams getting in and playing more football. Before we go on, I want to say this and see your thoughts about. Ask you about how you feel that Lane Kiffin and the administration for Ole Miss is handling this situation about his next job. I don't know if you're aware, but Lane Kiffin is going to announce tomorrow. He just played in the Egg Bowl, and the Egg Bowl is the Mississippi State against Ole Miss rivalry that's been going on for centuries. But he's already scheduled, and LSU has given him an offer to become their next head coach. But he hadn't decided yet. Ole Miss have offered him an extension to stay there. He hadn't signed that yet. But they said, and they announced this week, that the decision is going to be coming tomorrow. And why that's so important, they won today. And he's going to have a decision tomorrow. And today solidified themselves or solidified them as a playoff, college football playoff team. And the school does not want him to coach if he accepts the LSU job, does not want him to coach the playoff team. How do you feel about that? And they also said the committee has said that they will take that into account as far as their seeding, and if Ole Miss should be a playoff team, if they don't have their head coach, that's going to factor into them making a decision about them being a playoff team, a 12-team playoff member.
I think this is will be groundbreaking. I think obviously the decision, because I just seen something where the University of Florida says they go ahead and continue with their due process of interviewing, and they've been
Right.
interviewing other coaches. So I don't think Georgia is even a option at this point. When you told me that
You meant Florida.
excuse
Yeah.
me, Florida. I don't think Florida is even an option at this point. When you told me that Lane Kiffin said he was gonna make a decision on Saturday, that tells me, or in my thought process, I'm thinking he'll be staying and just re-signing with Ole Miss. Why I say this is groundbreaking is if in fact he leaves, then you have to ask yourself, and this plays a role whether or not Ole Miss gets in or not in the college football playoff. This can change the landscape of, I feel like, coaches' contracts. I feel like it can change the landscape of this whole college football playoff. It changes a lot of things because this is the first scenario where this has occurred where a coach can go 10-1, leave in the middle of the season, and be literally escorted out of there to where he can't
Right.
finish the season, and he doesn't get, at least thinking about the seniors and thinking about what he can accomplish at Ole Miss. But at the same time, how do you leave your team in the middle of the? How do you leave your
Yeah.
team at 10-1 right now, unless it's just some jaw dropping money? And I don't know. Lane Kiffin got everybody up in smoke because we don't know which way he may go.
Yeah.
He's a
That's right.
joker. He's a
Yeah,
joker.
yeah. And the fact is, the fact is, um, he would never know because that's the only reason why you would leave Ole Miss to go to LSU is that if you don't think you can win a championship with the
Right.
resources that's been given to you at Ole Miss. However, sitting at 11-1, the all-time school, the school's best regular season record all time at 11-1, and you are in the college football playoff. So you can't give me a competitive answer about Ole Miss, or you don't believe Ole Miss can win a national championship because here you are. If you don't
Right.
believe that, how are you going to tell your team that, or get them motivated to play a big game, or get them motivated to go through the college football playoff gauntlet and hold up the national championship trophy? So, I mean, here you are, Lane Kiffin, and whatever decision he makes, I'm sure it's going to be for the best interest of his family or in the best interest of his family. But my goodness, man, I would rather you say I'm not going to make a decision on my future as far as another head coaching job until I finish my run with Ole Miss. And I know that's not optimal because you got to go and recruit. You got to make sure you hit the ground running at your new school. But I mean, what about unfinished business? What about finishing what you start? That's what you tell everybody, your kids and your team. I mean, your players. You tell them to finish the drill. At least finish it, Mr. Kiffin, Coach Kiffin. in my opinion, brother.
But
That's
I
all.
I also feel as though I think I'm calling Ole Miss bluff. I'm calling Ole Miss bluff. With you saying that this is their first time at 11-1, first time with a national championship. Yeah, I'm calling it bluff. Now they did forcefully say, "Hey, we need a decision made by Saturday." Now they did say this, but I'm telling you, if this occurs, this is going to be. I think it'll be even more guarantees made in these college coaches' contracts. It is literally going to change the landscape of everything. So if in fact, let's say Lane Kiffin take the LSU position, and Ole Miss forces his hand so he can't continue or at least coach a bowl game or coach a college football playoff game at 11-1, it's gonna be something to see. I don't know,
Yeah.
like it's baffling to even think that
Right.
Ole Miss would do something of sort because they still got an opportunity to win the championship this year.
Right.
So are you
Right.
willing? Are you willing to say, hey, if you so upset that a coach is leaving that you willing to scratch the whole season with an opportunity to win a championship this year?
Right.
What would you do that? Would you do that? What would be your if you the athletic director of Ole Miss? What's your mindset in regards to that situation if he does leave?
Um, Complete, honest, and transparent communication between me and Lane Kiffin. Meaning, I'm here for you, Lane Kiffin. Whatever you want to do, I'm going to make sure that that decision is made in your best interest. I'm going to give you every information you need to make a nice, sound decision. Just let me know. Keep me in the loop. And if he decided to go to LSU, I would ask him humbly, do you mind staying and coaching this team throughout? And I know it's going to be distractions. I know you're going to have to be in communication with your new team, LSU, and have to handle business there. But will you stay and finish off with this team and try to hold up a trophy? And the reason why I'm going to take it that route, Vaughn, because if I run Lane Kiffin off, nobody's thinking about what Lane Kiffin is going to do as far as his staff. You know he's going to take a few. You know he's going to take some administration people in the building, some secretary or two, or maybe one of those girls in recruiting, somebody like that, or maybe even an offensive line coach or a wide receiver coach, defensive line coach, or maybe even a coordinator. He might take with them. So, how would you handle that situation if he's taking you, I mean, you telling him to go, and he's taking six of your staff members? How are you going to coach it? How are you going to coach in the playoffs? How are you going to give your student athletes the best opportunity to be coached and be prepared to win a college football playoff game? So I wouldn't be begging him, Vaughn. I'm not going that far, but I would let him know that the decision is his, and if he would like to stay and finish the drill, close it out with this team, which is you leaving, I would allow him to do that because again, I must reiterate, the last 3 years has been record setting from 10 wins to the first three straight 10 wins to now 11 wins to be the most ever. So it's been nothing but the Ole Miss fans and the young generation and the young guys now, they've been experiencing an Ole Miss brand of football that has never transpired. So does he deserve the little bit of, benefit of a doubt? I think so.
With that being said, I think right now as we speak, Ole Miss, their boosters, the alumni, they making final calls, and they probably offering Lane Kiffin $100 million to stay. I think even if he says he's going to LSU, they gonna be making some calls to see if they can do one of the situations where Chris Paul was planning to leave the LA Clippers, and they lock him in a room and say, "We gonna write you a blank check. What can we do to get you to
Yeah,
change your mind?" That's
that's
what I.
right.
That's potentially what I think we in position to see. But we just gonna have to wait at least one more day until we get the headlines or until coverage comes out on it. In between the lines, this was a great segment, Joe, and some great questions. College football, who would think it would still be so exciting
Right.
as we getting through conference, or what we like to call hate week, rolling into the conference championship. We still don't know who's going to be playing for the conference championship, and we still got some big hate to go ahead and get settled out on that gridiron with Ohio State and Michigan tomorrow, and Texas A&M and Texas right now. This is In Between the Lines. Thanks everybody for tapping in. Comment who's your team below. I know it's a little shifty. Has your team let you down this week, or is your team giving you all the bragging rights to walk out with your chest out and your head high for this upcoming week? Comment below. In Between the Lines.